Welcome to Econosite. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the massive physical world that makes our digital lives, and especially AI, even possible. It's a hidden story of colossal buildings, unimaginable amounts of power, and a fierce global competition.
We're always hearing about AI and the cloud, like they're these magical, invisible things floating around us. But they're not. They have a very real, very physical home. So the big question is, where does all this stuff actually live?
Okay, let's break this down. The easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think of it as software versus hardware. All the cool stuff, artificial intelligence, the large language models, the cloud apps, that's the software, the brains of the operation. And the hardware they run on, well, that's these enormous, specialized buildings we call data centers, jam-packed with servers, CPUs, GPUs, and massive cooling systems.
And look, this isn't just for some high-level AI research. These data centers are the engine for pretty much everything you do online. When you back up your photos, stream a movie on Netflix, or jump into an online game, you are plugging directly into one of these facilities. So now let's zoom out and get a sense of the global picture. Because honestly, the scale of this industry is just mind-boggling. So you're looking at this number, 100 megawatts. What does that even mean? Well, a single large data center can chew through that much power. We measure them this way because they consume a truly tremendous amount of electricity, not just to run the servers, but, and this is crucial, to keep them from literally melting. And get this, that's not a peak usage number. That's the minimum it needs, running around the clock, 24/7. It's just this constant, massive pull on the power grid. To really put that into perspective for you, that 100 megawatts, that's enough juice to power about 80,000 American homes. Just think about that. One building using the same amount of power as a small city. It's wild. So when you look at who's using all that power, a couple of heavyweights just dominate the scene. The United States and China. Together, they're sitting on 70% of the entire world's data center capacity. 70%.
And if we look at the raw numbers here in gigawatts, you can really see that dominance in action. The US, with over 53 gigawatts, I mean, that's more capacity than the next three regions all put together. It's not even close.
And this whole thing is just exploding. Around 2017, AI and the cloud basically hit the turbo button on demand. Look at these projections. By 2030, the power these things consume is expected to nearly double from what it is today. That is insane growth.
All right, so with that global picture in mind, let's zoom in a bit. Let's talk about India. Where does it fit into this whole high-stakes game for digital real estate? Okay, so as of 2024, India's got about 3.6 gigawatts of installed data center capacity. Now, that 3.6 gigawatts translates to roughly 3% of the world's total, so it's a pretty small slice of that global pie we were just looking at. But here's the crucial context. While 3% might sound small, it's actually perfectly in proportion with India's current share of the global economy. So the thinking is, as India's GDP grows, you can bet this number is going to grow right along with it. And inside India, this development is really concentrated. The state of Maharashtra, especially the financial hub of Mumbai, is the undisputed king of the landscape. Tamil Nadu is coming in at a distant second. Okay, now for a really fascinating and kind of weird detour. Let's swing back to the world's number 2 player, China, because there's a very strange story unfolding there. All right, remember this number? China has a colossal installed capacity, almost 32 gigawatts. We're talking billions and billions of dollars poured into building this stuff out. But here's the kicker. An estimated 80% of their newest data center infrastructure is just empty, unused. They built it, but nobody's home. Yeah, it's led people to make a direct comparison to China's infamous real estate ghost towns. You know, those massive empty cities they built? It really makes you question their whole top-down, build it and they will come strategy. All right, finally, let's look over the horizon to the next massive technological leap that's going to need this exact kind of physical backbone: quantum computing. So in super simple terms, the computer or phone you're watching this on uses bits. They're either a 0 or a 1. That's it. Quantum computers, they use qubits. And a qubit can be a 0, a 1, or somehow both at the exact same time. It's a total game changer, letting them perform countless calculations at once to solve problems that are basically impossible for even today's fastest supercomputers. And when you look at who's winning the race to actually turn this into a business, you see a very familiar pattern starting to emerge. The United States has jumped out to a huge early lead with 77 startups. That's more than the next two countries, Canada and the UK, combined. And India is definitely in the race. Now, it's not in the top 10 globally yet, but there are about 13 core quantum computing startups in the country, all working to stake their claim in what could be the next great technological frontier. So this all brings us back to the big question for the coming decade, right? If data is the new oil, then these massive data centers, they're the refineries, the pipelines, the supertankers all rolled into one. The real race isn't just about who can write the smartest AI, it's about who owns the physical ground that AI stands on. Because whoever controls that foundation, well, they're going to have an incredible amount of power over our entire digital future.